The college football season is 3 months away, but Ohio State, Penn State, Miami, Florida State, and the Florida Gators are all teams this year that have a little something extra to prove this season. The fan bases here have ridiculously high expectations. Smoke, is this their year?
Well, Carl, listen now. When expectations, checks have been written, NIL, they all have something to prove, but one of them is going to be on that moving truck and getting up out of there at the end of the season.
Smoke. Now we can't put Florida State on the moving truck yet. Undefeated last year, regular season. Welcome to Unfiltered. I'm here with Smoke Dixon.
Carl, I'm glad to be here on another great Friday. Let's have another unfiltered show.
In today's episode, Kent State head coach Kenni Burns joins the show. College football teams with the most to lose. And we are going to shout out our fathers on our flag on the play segment. This guy right here, Kenni Burns, head coach of Kent State, he has been an excellent recruiter across the country as an assistant coach, Big Ten at University of Minnesota, a national champion at North Dakota State, and helped build the program that became a MAC powerhouse at Western Michigan with Coach PJ Fleck. An excellent head coach who's went through the entire process. We would like to take this time to welcome Kent State head coach Kenni Burns to the show.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you, my friend Carl. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, my brother. Welcome.
Yeah. Coach, what's going on?
What's going on, man? I appreciate you having me on, man. Excited about this.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Coach, now, a lot of guys ask me all the time, what does it take to be a head coach? Do I need to go to search firms? Do I need to be tight with the ADs? How do I need to network? And I always kind of use your story because I was able to see you from the very beginning, SIU Carbondale, as an FCS assistant coach. Can you walk us through the journey, what it took for you to end up in this position as the head coach at Kent State?
I mean, man, you're right away. You make me feel old, man, going back to SIU Carbondale and all those good spots, man. But no, it takes a little bit of luck, obviously, to get to this point. But it also takes being where your feet are and enjoying the journey. And I tell every coach that, like, you got to be where your feet are and enjoy your journey that you're on because it's your journey. It's your story. My story is very different than PJ Fleck's story. It's very different than other guys that I've worked with. Craig Bowl, who I worked with, is very different than his story. But it's my story. And the one thing I'll say is even starting off at Southern Illinois, the biggest thing I learned is that adversity is going to hit within that story. And when it hits, you got to be ready for it. And you got to surround yourself with really good people that are going to help you get through it, but then also help you maximize who you are as a person. And that's what I give everybody, that piece of advice. You know, I go back through my journey at Southern Illinois. I was at a place that I got to cut my teeth, with Dale Lennon there. And it was a program that was established, but I'd never coached tight ends before. And he trusted me to coach tight ends, and I dove in head first. And it was a great journey. Then I went to North Dakota State with Craig Bowl, and I learned how to build a championship culture. Craig Bowl is one of discipline and structure. And he showed me how to build a championship culture there. Then Wyoming was really where I thought I learned my recruiting. It was a place that didn't have a lot to recruit to, but it was a place that I knew had its own advantages and gems there. And I learned how to recruit to a certain place that was different than where I had been. And then I went on to team up with my good friend PJ, and he taught me how to recruit in the modern age and how to develop the modern player. And I think that was so important there. Then followed him to Minnesota, where I learned how to coach and recruit at the highest level and what it takes to build a program at the highest level. So I think in your journey, you've got to learn stuff from every step you've been along the way and take it with you to build your profile as a head coach. And that's what I would give anybody that advice.
Coach, beautiful journey. But can you walk us through the steps that you took to make this happen in terms of going from a position coach straight to the head coach?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when you're a position coach, man, is that people are going to tell you that you cannot be a head coach without being a coordinator, without being someone who's had play calling experiences. And I get it, I do. But to me, that wasn't my desire. I never had the desire to call plays. I never had the desire to sit up top and look down and make the adjustments from that standpoint. To me, I wanted to be the CEO of a program. And I think you don't have to be a coordinator to do that. There's tons of people who are out there who are position coaches that went to this role. The one piece of advice I'd give everyone, and I call them my big three, when you're trying to make that journey from a position coach, you've got to, when adversity hits, first be creative and positive. People are going to tell you, like I said, you got to get creative with how you go about that journey. And then you got to stay positive. You're going to get told no way before you get told yes. Carl could tell you, I was denied 12 head coaching jobs before I finally got one. And I just kept going and getting creative and finding a school that I fit, where my culture fit, with what I wanted to build fit. And I found that here at Kent State. The second thing I tell everybody is, listen, when you're told no, be better, not bitter. For some reason, when we don't get what we want, we find a way to be bitter. And we get down and out on ourselves. We turn that to people, get mad at them for not hiring us, get mad at people for not helping us. Don't do that. Be better. Find a way you can be better in that circumstance for the next opportunity that's coming. And then the last thing I always say to everybody is be you. Be you. Don't be anybody else but yourself. I think ADs can read through people being fake. I think they want a genuine person. And I'm not, I always talk about PJ Fleck, who's one of my mentors. I'm not him. He never wanted me to be him or forced me to be him. He tried to help me be the best version of myself. And I encourage everybody to do that in your journey to being a head coach.
Coach, there's about 16 black head coaches in college football right now. Mm-hmm. As a young black coach, how would you advise someone to move up the ladder in the profession, especially if they want to be a head coach? What are some of the things that they need to do?
That's a great question. I think about that a lot because you want to help, right? And help guys get to where you're at in being a head coach. I think the number one advice I'd give anybody when you're talking about an African-American coach moving on is the first and foremost, you got to get them talking about you in rooms you're not in. And I think that's so important. And we don't talk about that enough. You got to, and I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth here. You got to be where your feet are, okay, and do the best job that you can possibly do where you're at and get a name for yourself where you're at. But then you also have got to get people talking about you in rooms you're not in, meaning athletic directors, meaning your network, the people that you trust, people that know you inside and out. I was a guy who was blessed enough to go to the championship forum that the NCAA puts on, which allows African-American or minority head coaches to get around search firms and other people. And I think the more you can do that to where they're talking about you and guys are building their lists, ADs are building their lists and people are putting you on that list and you don't even know it, the better off you are. I always go by my story, Mark Coyle and John Cunningham. Mark Coyle is AD at Minnesota and John Cunningham's the AD at Cincinnati. And both had a big role in me sitting right here as a head coach at Kent State. John Cunningham called Randall Richmond before this job was even open and said, there's a guy down at Minnesota I think you need to get to know. And his name's Kenni Burns. He's a good guy. He's got a great vision, and I think he's ready. And that was because of a relationship I had built with John over the years. So I tell everybody to get them talking about your rooms you're not in.
Coach, you're known as one of the better recruiters on the recruiting trail.
I would say
Keen
that.
eye for talent, Coach. I'm telling you, when I was on the trail as one of the young coaches, Coach, your name rings bells in high schools and in buildings. There's a reason why you are where you at.
Carl
and
also
have the ability.
By the way, Carl was. I went to his school every year. I could barely get any players out of there. He always told me what I could do better. But no, I'm just joking. Go ahead.
But no, Carl was being selfish and only trying to give who he wanted to give the players to. You and I both know, Coach. You and I both know in the recruiting world, head coaches give the players who they want to give the players to. Yeah. And Carl had his little Rolodex of teams, and he went through and he checked and said, "Okay, I'm gonna send him over here to Clemson. I'm gonna send him there," and that's what he did. But Coach, your ability to evaluate talent at the MAC level is always something that you have to do in order to bring your team and develop your team in terms of developmental players. Now, Carl and I talk about it all the times, and how are MAC schools going to just retain these players? So getting the players in your building, how are MAC programs going to retain the players and not allow them to get poached?
Sure. I always talk to, I think of the MAC, the ticket in the MAC that nobody talks about, what I think the great MAC teams do, and I think we did at Western Michigan, I was there, and we're starting to do that here, is the first thing we talk about recruiting. I don't want my coaches to be the best recruiters. I think that's one aspect of it, sure. Everybody wants to be the best recruiter. But what we've got to do a great job of, we've got to be the best evaluators, okay? At Kent State, you've got to be able to find people and find recruits that maybe someone's missing, a diamond in the rough, where you just out-evaluated. You said this kid has more intangibles than this kid, and over time, after I coach him, he could get there, and he can become a BCS caliber player, which is really, really important to me. I'm a coach who embraces the new landscape of college football. I tell guys all the time, like, come to Kent State and we'll get you ready for the next step of your career. If it's the NFL, great. If it's going to a Power 4 school, great. But if you're leaving to go to a Power 4 school, that means you've done everything you possibly can at Kent State to help us win a championship, and they want you. And that's not a bad thing. When we talk about retention, it's different to me. I think the best way we can retain guys is by four different things. We call them care, love, commitment, and belief. If we can show a guy we care about him every single day in and day out, on and off the field, and it's genuine, because I believe real is rare. I think right now with all the filters of social media, it's hard to find real. So I said, we can care and be real with our players, we have a shot. If you can give them daily love, and love to us is sacrifice for them daily, your time, your energy, your effort, they'll value that. And then stay committed to their growth every single day when they're having a hard day or a good day. And then also showing them you believe in them. That's the only chance you have. You can check all 4 boxes and make it hard for a kid to want to leave the environment he's in. That's everything to us in trying to retain your players. But it is part of college football now, and we've got to embrace it every single day in what we're doing and understand it's a part of it. And if our best players are leaving, that means they did a lot for Kent State, and that's a good thing. And you've got to recruit to get depth behind them to get the next guy ready to roll. But it's college football, and again, it's part of the game now, and we're embracing it here at Kent State.
Coach, I want to follow up on Smoke's recruiting question a little bit. I've been watching social media the last couple of weeks, and you've got some guys that are committing to your program. You had several commitments last weekend. How are you handling recruiting now in terms of high school versus transfer portal?
Yeah, we want to be a massive high school team. I think with the bigger schools might be turning a little bit more of their attention to the Power 4, to the transfer portal. Sorry, the Power 4 schools turning attention to the transfer portal. I think for us, we're getting a caliber of high school player that maybe we couldn't got 4 years ago. And our coaches are diving into that. And, look, right now we've got, I think, the highest rated recruiting class in the MAC on multiple different services. And I think it's because our guys are out here getting a really good caliber of players and building relationships with them. I think the biggest thing for us is, again, stay true to who we are. And us at Kent State will never have the biggest facilities. We'll never have the biggest NIL deal, but we can have the best experience for a student athlete. And I think if you ask our players why we retain so much this year is because the guys enjoyed their experience here and what we're offering them here as they grow and develop through this landscape of college football. I tell everybody college football is taking a weird twist right now between 2 different families, and one's transactions and one's investments. Some schools are living based off transactions. You come here, you play for me, you do well, I give you money. You don't do well, I move you on to the transfer portal. That's not us. We're a program that is built on investments, meaning that if you come here, you're getting a 4-year commitment to your life, academically, athletically, socially, and spiritually, to become the best you can be. If you have a hard day, we're still going to be there for you. If you have a good day, we're still going to be there for you. And I think that's something that you can't find in a lot of places right now in college football because it's become so transactional. And that's what we're selling to kids, and guys are feeling it and they like it. And that's why recruiting is going so well right now.
It's crazy, Kenny, because everybody who watched the NFL draft saw Quinion Mitchell from Toledo go in the first round. Was the first corner off the board, I think, Smoke, if my memory serves me correctly. Ben Roethlisberger was at Miami of Ohio, Antonio Brown at Central Michigan. The MAC was known for being a developmental feeding ground for players.
Yeah.
How has it changed now from the group of 5 program it was then and when you were there with PJ at Western Michigan to kind of how things are now with the transfer portal kind of plucking at guys?
Yeah, it's just changed from where they're going. Before those guys were going to the NFL, I had Corey Davis at Western Michigan, the one that comes to mind for us. He had a great career, was the 5th overall draft pick when we were there. But now guys they're leaving to go to bigger programs, and it's just different from that standpoint. But there's still guys like the kid at Toledo that believed in something, that stayed true and loyal and enjoyed this experience and stayed there. So you still find both. And I think that's all we can control right now as coaches. When they're here, how can you get them to be the best version of themselves? You can't dictate if they're going to transfer one day or not. If they do transfer again, they've done everything they can for your program and someone else wants them. If they stay, you get them to the NFL, then you've done everything for that kid and got them to the next phase of their life. But I think the kid at Toledo showed you is you can still get there from the MAC. They'll find you. You don't have to go chase it from somewhere else. And that's what we told our guys. We use that story in our locker room all the time, that you don't have to go anywhere to be a first-round draft pick. You can stay right here in the MAC and get there. But to me, they're just leaving for a different venue, is what I say. They used to leave for the NFL. Now they're leaving to go to the Alabamas of the world, the Wisconsins of the world, the Minnesotas of the world. So, again, if they're leaving, though, I always say this, they're doing something right for you.
Coach, we're going to jump in our true and false segment a little bit and have a little fun with it, change up the flavor of it. So true or false, or if you have something to add on to the story, go ahead. And I'm going to jump off because I know you're running back. Running back. So I'm going to give you the first one. True or false, the running back position is being devalued.
True. Very much so. You want to elaborate on why?
Yeah, touch on it a little bit.
So you're talking about the actual position, right? Not the coach?
The position.
The position.
Yeah, it's being definitely devalued, and I think that's a problem because the running back position still has the most wear and tear of any position on the field to me, and it's one of the last positions to me that dictate the game. The quarterback position obviously dictates the game, but the running back position can dictate the game every single play that he touches the ball, and I think there needs to be value in that because that guy can take a game over. At the drop of a dime, and that guy can impact the game at the drop of a dime. So to me, it needs to be valued. It needs to be paid what it's supposed to be paid and taken care of because the lifespan of the wear and tear they take is one that is effective for the rest of those guys' life. But in the same breath, it's a position group that impacts the game daily with every single play, every single moment of a game. So to me, it needs to be valued way more than what it is.
I got something for you here. True or false?
Yeah.
PJ Fleck beats Kenni Burns in a 40-yard dash.
False. I still want to throw this. I love Coach Fleck, but I did play at Indiana. No offense. Indiana, clear, and I was a state track holder at the state of Illinois, record holder for my high school. So whenever he's ready, I'm ready. Or I told him that he didn't take me up on my challenge quite yet. But yeah.
So he ain't want none of it, huh, Coach?
None of it. He didn't respond to me. He's one of my closest friends. So,
Coach, true or false? Ohio football is as good as any brand of football in the United States.
True. I didn't give it enough credit till I got this job. It is a phenomenal football state. When you talk about some of the programs in the state that constantly give you Division I caliber players, it's unbelievable. Not only that, I mean, from top to bottom, programs that are just ran traditional powerhouses like St. Eggs, the Ginn Academy. I mean, there's so many that are just pumping players to the collegiate level, which is awesome. And like I said, I didn't give enough credit till I got here, but it's a place that we have tried to take over the state of Ohio, and we call ourselves Cleveland School because we're only about 40 minutes away from them. But it's a great state for high school football.
True or false? Running back coaches know offense well enough to call these.
Absolutely. True, they do. They do. Absolutely. I think that running back coaches, they got the advantage of being a part of the pass game and the run game, which is a big advantage. So they know protections, they know concepts, and then they also know your run fits, how teams are trying to take away things in the run game to give you advantage with your RPO game. So I think that's a big misconception with running back coaches. I think that since they are typically relationship builder coaches, because typically running back coaches are some of your top recruiters on your staff, that people devalue what they do from a football standpoint. But I think some of the running back coaches that I've been around are some of the best coaches in the country and in the landscape of college football.
Coach, last one to get off the hot seat. All right.
Yeah.
True or false? Carl Reed was easy to deal with as a high school head football coach.
I'm gonna take the political answer here and say true. Because he still has a big impact, so I can't say false, but no, I'm gonna say, real is rare. False. Carl Reed was no, you know what I'll say about Carl? He always stood up for his players first and foremost, and what was best for them, which I think is very maybe not as common in high school football and recruiting anymore. And then also he was always real with you. He told you what you were getting in the student athletes and what you had to expect from them. And then you always know when you got one of his kids, you were getting a guy that was ready to play college football, not just from a physical standpoint, but for mentally and emotionally as well. And I always credit him for that. But then the same flip of that, if you said you're going to do something and you didn't do it, Carl's going to tell you about that too. So that's the other side of him, which I love. But he's been a brother of mine for a long time, man. I truly appreciate him.
Smoke, the answer he really want to give you, he can't give you until we get on one of them those late night cable shows. You know what I mean? He really want to do. That's what he really want to go into. Kenny,
Correct.
before we let you get out of here,
Yep.
we're gonna ask you this: who are some young coaches or personnel people or people in the football space that the world doesn't know about yet, but they're really good and we should be paying attention to them?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'll start with the guy here. I got a young coach by the name of CJ Robbins, who's our special teams coordinator, linebacker coach. He played at Northwestern and was with me at Minnesota. He's a phenomenal coach, but even better person. He's a dynamic recruiter. He's someone that I told him he won't be with me for very long. He just does a phenomenal job from that standpoint of building relationships, and a guy that I would expect to be a coordinator really, really soon. Another one is a guy up at Minnesota by the name of Winston DeLabadere. He was a guy that played for me when I was there, and is another coach that has a bright future. He just became the assistant head coach for PJ Fleck. He's a guy that is on the hot track to becoming a head coach really, really, really soon. He was at Akron, and I think he became the youngest Big Ten position coach at like 27 or 28 years old last year. But another rising star from there. When you talk about the ops world, I think of a guy by the name of Steve Ruzick. He's at Tennessee now, was at Indiana as a GM last year. Another guy with a great profile and a guy that's doing a great job as well of becoming a guy who's going to dominate that world as well. So those are three names that I can give you that I know for a fact that they're always on my radar, and there should be on other coaches in the world's radar as well.
Well, Coach, we want to thank you for joining us today on the show, and good luck to you this season, my brother.
I appreciate you guys. Go Flashes and Kent Grip.
Appreciate you, Coach.
Appreciate you.
Smoke, that was a good conversation.
Man, listen, he dropped some gems on me. But here's what I took from it, Carl. As a second-year head coach, he understands what the NCAA and what the college world is coming to. He knows that, yes, I'm at a school, but this school can also send some of my players to bigger schools. So instead of just not recruiting good talent and saying, well, I don't want to send my players off, he understands. That's a part of the process right now. I'm going to get a good player in. He's talented. If he plays well enough, there's two places he's going to go. He's either going to go to the NFL or he's going to go to another group of 4 school. And he understands that. That takes away a lot of the stress. Second, they are doing a heck of a job of evaluating, IDing talent, and recruiting it. The first thing that he talked about was ID, evaluate. Forget about recruiting. We all understand recruiting is constant communication. But the ability to evaluate the right talent to get in your building goes so far, because now you have talent that's going to grow, and growing with talent gets you wins.
It's crazy because most guys that are at that level are fighting against it, but he seems to really be embracing the fact that guys may play really well and leave, and he's being really positive about it. If you're watching our show today, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Ask us some questions in the chat. We will answer your questions at the end of the show if you ask a good one. Smoke, I hope that Kenni Burns and Kent State have a successful season this year.
Carl B and Smoke Dixon, I'm spitting fast. Now let's hit some heated topics, just in time for group chat.
Smoke, our group chat is always crazy every week, and we've decided to let the guys that are watching the show in on our Unfiltered group chat so they can see the trending topics that we discuss and let you know what's really going on in the world of college football. And the first topic we will get into: 5 programs with a lot to prove. Now, this is a good one, Smoke. The 2024 season starts August 24th, week 0, nearly 3 months away. But we can get into our top 5. Some of them I agree with you on, some of them we don't. This is the purpose of the group chat. Who do you want to lead off with?
Coach, I'm going to jump off the top rope with the team that went out there and cashed in the NIL market and got the best players. I'm going to start off with Ohio State, Buckeye Land. All right? Now, hear me out now, Carl. This is the year that Coach Ryan Day needs to turn this into Coach Ryan Night. He needs to make it a nightmare for people coming up in Columbus and wanting to compete. You can't lose to your rival, and your rival ends up winning the national championship and not get put on the hot seat. but he's taking steps to correct that. He got away from the play calling and got Chip Kelly in there. Chip Kelly, one of his boys from a long time ago, they ran numbers up and won a lot of games together. Then he went out and got Will Howard, one of the better quarterbacks out there, to come in and facilitate and run that offense the way that Chip Kelly wants to. Went out and got a running back. Got it right. Now they can run the ball with two good running backs and get it done. Coach, this is a loaded roster. Offensive line, NFL players. Receivers, NFL players. Tight ends, you know what's going to happen. We already touched on the running back. They got two back there that are NFL Sunday players. And on defense, they got guys that can get after the quarterback. And we said it already on the show, Unfiltered, that this might be one of the better secondaries that I've evaluated. And they have 5 to 6 guys that will play in the NFL. Now, when that comes up, you have a lot to prove, and your seat is very hot. I'm talking about it's scorching. Time for them to defeat that team that they always play against at the last game of the season and get into the conference championship and also get into the national championship conversation. This is win or get off the pot this year. What you got?
Now, Smoke, we not at flag on the play yet, but I almost threw one on you right here. All right. Ryan Day, 11-1 a year ago, 11-1 the year before that. Not on the hot seat to be fired. Does have to beat Michigan for them to reach their goals. Ohio State expects to compete for the national championship, Smoke, year in and year out. So what you said to me is just business as usual for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They have got to get over the hump of beating Michigan, but after that, that's it, Smoke. Loaded team. I expect for Ohio State to run through the Big Ten this year, though.
Now, speaking on Big Ten, Carl, you got the next one up. What you got?
I got Penn State. Penn State will start the season ranked number 12 in the country, 10-3 record last year, 7-2 in the conference. But Smoke, it's not about the 7. It's about the 2. Penn State has to figure out a way to win the big games. And you know the big games against Michigan and against Ohio State. Those are the teams that they've had trouble getting over the hump with. But we have 2 new coordinators. Penn State has a really good defense. Drew Aller is coming back at quarterback. I like Penn State's chances, but for them to take the next step this year, they're going to have to prove that they can win those big games. The schedule, they're going to have to see Ohio State. They're going to have to see some of those big-time programs on the schedule. Got to win the games that you're not supposed to win. They're not losing to the teams that they can't, that shouldn't be competing with them. They're having trouble getting over the hump of those 2 giants that are in the Big Ten with them. And this is the year that they have to show that they can do that.
Now, you want to throw a flag on me. Okay, I'm not going to be petty and throw a flag back at you. But you just said what I said, but just move the team and move that goalpost again. You said that 2 is what matters. That got to be Ohio State and Michigan. All I said was the same thing on the other one. But again, you're moving the goalpost. You're picking up your flag. You're not throwing the yellow flag. You're throwing the red flag because you want to challenge me. But I'm going to keep on moving. I'm going to go to the ACC, and I'm going to go down to the 305 bottom of the map with the third team, Miami with Mario Cristobal. Now, Coach, they went 7-6, 3-5 in the conference. Unacceptable. You talk about hot seat, getting paid. He's one of the higher paid coaches in the NCAA. Coach, he lost 2 games just off of just managing the game. Head coaches have to manage the most important part. That's the last 2 minutes of the first half and also in the fourth quarter. He did a horrible job of that. But, Coach, he went out there and got one of the best quarterbacks in Cameron Ward. Now, Cameron Ward's been lighting it up, and he's going to give them an opportunity now to truly compete and win games. You have a quarterback. You got an edge rush in Bain. You got running backs. You got 2 of them. Then Damon Martinez transferred come down there to play ball so you can run the ball, control the game. You have a quarterback. You got X out there playing receiver. You got my man KB down there coaching up the wide out to have explosive plays. At some point, Coach, I know that he's a guy that represents the U, but the U has to decide if he keeps going 3-5 in the ACC and 7-6 and not bringing back the U to national prominence, might be getting that moving truck down in South Florida and not going to be drinking so much Cuban coffee and getting that energy going. Just my
Well,
opinion,
Smoke,
Coach. You got a lot to prove.
I do think he has a lot to prove this season, but I think he made the most significant transaction of the offseason. He went and got Cam Ward. Cam Ward is a proven quarterback, a proven big game guy, a proven winner, and the reviews have been rave about him since he's been at the University of Miami on his locker room presence, on the way he wills his team to compete every single day. Great locker room guy, great teammate, may be the single most significant transfer to go to a team this year in Cam Ward. And I talked to Uncle Luke, my dog, and he said the Canes going undefeated like the old days. So we'll see. Shout out to Uncle Luke. I'm going to stay in
Big
there.
Luke off in there.
Hey, I'm going to stay in Smoke. Now, this is a team you put on there. I want that to be known. So when people ask for somebody to be drug tested, I want them to drug test you and not me. All right. Florida State. That's who we're going through right now, ranked 11. Florida State, AC, undefeated in the league, 13-1 record. But nobody wants to talk about the 13. They want to talk about the 1. They want to talk about the loss to Georgia in the bowl game, even though what did they have, Smoke? 35 opt-outs or guys that went to the NFL draft that did not play. We can't be counting the Georgia game against the Florida State Seminoles. They were loaded last year, had a great run. They feel like they were robbed and should have been in the college football playoffs. I think Florida State has great program momentum. Mike Norvell has recruited really well. He's majored in the transfer portal. DJU comes in to replace the quarterback from a year ago. They're going to be right in the mix again, Smoke. I just don't think that Florida State really belongs on this list.
Well, Carl, I'm going to make it short and sweet for you and make it real easy. I get the 13 wins and the 1 loss. I'm not worried about the 1 loss. They showed up to a bowl game and got ran up out the gym by a better team, coached better, that was motivated to play in the game. The reason why I put them on this list to prove it, because, Coach, they had a good reason to be in the national championship game last year or be in the contention of being in the Final Four. And they didn't. So this year's a prove-it year. Revenge. They should come out of this saying, you know what, we're going to run the table again. We're going to go 13-0 and get into the national championship game. That's the reason why. He's not on the hot seat, but this team has more to prove than a lot because they should have been in the conversation to play for the national championship. And just by, hey, listen, they just got bammered, and it's okay. Coach, I'm going to get to this one for you. I'm going to stay in the same state, but I'm going to come up north a little bit and get to that panhandle. And I'm going to get to my man, Sunbelt Billy. You have a ton to prove on this one. 5-7 2 years in a row, 3-5 in the SEC, and I get it. But this is not the standard of Florida Gators football. Coach, you remember when Urban had them rolling with Percy, Tim Tebow, Brandon Spikes, players after player after player. Like, Coach, Florida is the gold standard in SEC at one point, right? But now you have players suing coaches, taking them to court, and not winning games. You have players. It's now time to either get to the point of competing in the SEC each, and we know that Georgia's running it, but you can't go back and be 5-7 3 years in a row and don't even go to the daggone Papa John's Bowl, man. You're not going bowling in Gainesville. Is reason for that moving truck to pull up to your house, knock on the door, hand you that pink slip, ask you for your key fob, and say, listen, I just need it back. Unacceptable, a lot to prove. And I get strength of schedule is tough and all that. No one wants to hear that. Win or go home. Simple as that. Sunbelt Billy, they'll send you right back if you don't get this thing going. Ton to prove, Coach.
I feel really bad for Billy Napier. I'm going to be honest with you because we haven't gotten to see the real Billy Napier. He has been hurt by his collective or the lack thereof, and by the new NIL movement. And they haven't adjusted to that well yet at Florida. You mentioned Urban Meyer, the Percy Harvin, the Steve Spurrier era with the freak Javon Curse and Warfel and Freddie T and all them guys. Man, them days behind the Florida Gators. If they don't do something to get the collective going in the right direction for Coach Napier, it's gonna be dark in Gainesville. So I think that Coach Napier is a hell of a coach. I just don't think that we've gotten to see the real Billy Napier.
Coach, I'm gonna leave it alone. We'll see who comes out on top of this.
Smoke, it's time for us to throw our flags on things that don't sit right with us. Who you throwing a flag on today?
Well, Coach, we already threw a flag on you several times, but this is who I'm throwing the flag on is young players and just understanding what the word humility is and acting with humility. Because when I was a freshman and I started as a freshman, I understood from the beginning, go in the locker room, shut your mouth, open up your ears, open up your eyes, and take direction from good leadership. There are too many young players that are getting into college football with the understanding of being entitled for reps, playing time, starting, and have not earned it. And now they have the ability to say, if I'm not playing, I'm getting out of here. Humble yourself. Have some humility. Understand that when you cook a good meal, Coach, it takes time. You bake a good cake, it takes time. Everything good has to marinate and give that time. Give time. Understand how to get right and how to prepare, how to develop, and how to become a professional. And sometimes you just got to have that humble pie. It tastes good. When you have the humble pie and understand humility, you'll be a better player down the road. Don't get in a haste to get on the field, to get embarrassed because you're not ready physically or mentally. It can change your world. Coach, throw the flag again on somebody. Who you got?
I'm throwing a flag today on all the people who don't call their dad as soon as they wake up on Father's Day. You got to call your dad on Father's Day. Listen, while I'm here, I want to give a shout out to my dad, Carl Reed Sr., known as CR1. You have been the best father that a young man could ask for. You have been supportive. You have been motivating. You instilled discipline. You instilled courageousness and have given my brother and I everything that we've needed in this world to be able to succeed. You have been an example. You never ran when things got tough. You were a father to my friends. If they didn't have food to eat, you fed them. If they didn't have a way to go to camp, you paid for it and you sent them. This is a shout out to you. Everything that I've accomplished in this world, Pops, I got to thank you for it. I love you. You are the best dad in the world. To me, you're an incredible grandfather to your kids. Dad, happy Father's Day.
Well, daggone it, Carl. I guess I got to throw the flag on myself. Papa Steele, Gerald Valentine Dixon, the first, because I'm a junior. Happy Father's Day, too. I appreciate you, everything that you've done for my entire family, from getting us from Jamaica to the United States and getting us established in this great country. Without you, our entire family wouldn't be here. Happy Father's Day. Whatever you want, you know I'm your guy. Call on me, Pop. Love you, my man.
Smoke, we got a great guest on our next show. Coach Joey McGuire will join us next Wednesday, the head coach at Texas Tech. We're really excited about that. Remember, like, share, subscribe. Smoke, we out for the weekend. It's Father's Day. We're going to have us a good time. You have just been.
Happy Father's Day, Carl. Get on that grill, champ.
Happy Father's Day to you. Listen, before we get out of here, I want to say this. A lot of our viewers may not know this. Smoke actually does not allow his kids to play video games. So his kids have decided this Sunday they're going to come and hang out with me for Father's Day because my house is the fun house. Smoke, we out of here. You have just been Unfiltered.